More on this Roger Clemens perjury trial. Our Fox Sports Major League Baseball reporter Ken Rosenthal and Robert Massi, Fox News legal analyst. Thank you both for joining me tonight. All right, sure. Bob, let me start with you. It seems like a lot of people are up in arms with the fact that this is a trial that's costing taxpayers millions of dollars. But let's face it, if you lie to Congress, whether you're lying to them about baseball, steroids, gun running, or whatever the case may be, you've got to face a trial, don't you?
Well, not only when you lie to Congress, but when you basically take Congress on. And that's a little different. I mean, unfortunately, not only did he allegedly lie to the committee, Chris, he also allegedly lied in his depositions prior to the hearings. And then he basically put it right in their face. And then he did some other interviews after that. These are a group of people that are very powerful, that have all this power and all the money, our money in the world to prosecute. And yes, he definitely pushed the envelope on this one.
You know, Ken Rosenthal, he talked about his legacy and how he'll never get it back. I believe him. I think he's done for. Do you buy into that? And what does that say about all the other players who played in the steroid era? And I'm going to bring up a name. Jim Thome is close to 600 home runs. How will his legacy, even though he's never been certainly convicted of anything, but he's never even been caught cheating, how would his legacy be tainted because of Clemens and because of that era?
The whole era is tainted, Chris. But in Jim Thome's case, there has never been a hint of performance-enhancing drug use, where in Clemens' case, we have this particular situation, and it's a very different animal. Now, you ask if this will stain these guys forever. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure in 10 years if we look at this era a whole different way and look back and say, okay, most of them were doing it. It was the way it was back then, and there's more acceptance. I'm not saying that's the right thing. I'm not saying it should happen, but in time, that could happen.
He's the greatest starting pitcher of his era. He's a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer if he doesn't have this going on. Will he get into the Hall of Fame then at some point in time? Are you saying maybe even regardless of what happens in this trial, 10 years, 15 years down the road, he may be able to find himself in Cooperstown?
Outside chance.
There's a chance.
As of right now, no way. And you look at Mark McGwire and his candidacy, and obviously Mark McGwire has admitted to steroid use. He has not gotten anywhere near the Hall of Fame just yet. In 10 years, might that change? I don't think so, but I do believe there is going to be a softening of some sort. Whether it's a softening enough to get him and Bonds and the rest into the Hall, that remains to be seen.
Hey, Bob, you know, Peter Barnes made an interesting point about a fan fanning himself there. How difficult do you think it might be for them to be able to find 12 jurors plus alternates out of a pool of 125 people that aren't fans of baseball? Because if they did have fans in that jury, you think that benefits Clemens' side, or is it a detraction for Clemens?
Well, anytime, Chris, the voir dire part of this, which is when you get the right to ask questions, and I will tell you, federal judges basically really pull the reins in on this type of thing. And because of who he is and what he meant to baseball, it surely becomes the pivotal part of the case. Because you have those people, you know, that Ken said that basically love baseball, loved him, loved what he did. And there's those out there that say, you know what, I don't really care if he did it. You know, why are we here? What's going on? He's in a tough spot because, you know, you have these other witnesses that allegedly may be allowed to testify. You have Andy Pendley coming in. You have some big names coming in. You know, perjury is not easy to prove. But if you march these people in, and with McNamee, although he's getting an immunity, it's a little different.
You know, Ken, talk about McNamee as a witness, not very credible. And certainly his history will be brought up in every little detail about his history. But Pettit as a witness, and Pettit's word against Clemens, that could be really damning for Clemens.
Right, and this is a lot different than the Barry Bonds case, when Barry Bonds' personal trainer, Greg Anderson, went to jail rather than testify against Bonds. Here is Clemens' personal trainer, ready, willing, and able to testify against him. But you're right, his reputation and his past will haunt him here. What's interesting, and should be noted here, Chris, Clemens never had to testify. He was not required to testify. Congress told him repeatedly, you don't have to do this, but he was so anxious to protect his reputation, protect his Hall of Fame candidacy, that he went out there.
Bob, I got to ask you, I only have a couple seconds left, but I want to bring up about that. Are his lawyers at fault for enabling him to be able to do all this to himself?
You know what? Assuming he's a controllable client, yes. I don't get the image that he's a controllable client. And I will tell you, and I don't know what Ken feels about this, but the fact that he did not have to testify in front of Congress, if you're going to make a bet right now, over and under, bet that he's going to get on a witness stand. Because I don't think he's necessarily a controllable guy. He would want to get on there and vindicate himself and sell himself to that jury because of who he is. I think that's a good bet.
All right, Bob, Ken, thank you so much. Great topic
Thanks,
of
Chris.
conversation, gentlemen. We
All
appreciate
right,
it.
guys.